So I would want to be doing a little bit of a more positive video for my birthday, but Mashima had other plans for me. So welcome to my review for Eden Zero Chapter 212 entitled Mobius. Or I guess you could... I saw several people when the spoilers for this came out, I saw several people joke about Morbius. So, you know, the internet doesn't change. So the cover page is Elsie in a nice dress, which is nice. But we're gonna get into it. So, a lot of this chapter is very Akinoella focused. This is like the one chapter Akinoella gets, because we get her fight with Justice, and you know, for a little bit, it's fine. It's not like Mashima has done better fights in his time as a mangaka, but you know, I've seen worse in this chapter alone. So we get a new transformation from Akinoella. It looks decently cool. I think our original design is a bit cooler, but you know, Mashima always likes to do this is my true form, you know, the anime. The shonen trope of, I have a transformation I haven't used up until this point. So we get a bit where Homura and the dragons fight. And then Justice kind of questions, like, okay, where are you getting all these dragons? And Akinoella does say that she didn't create the dragons, but she found a way to, like, speed up their creation, because dragons in Eden Zero are weird because they're mechanical, but it's like they're real. You know, a big conflict in, like, the main theme of Eden Zero is, you know, man versus machine. It's like, should machines take over and man be completely destroyed, or should man kill all machines and be taken over, or can they live in harmony? That's kind of a big theme. That's a big theme of Shiki's character as well. So we find out that the Mobius system is essentially, it's a way to auto-make soldiers. It's just an auto line of just making dragons, which makes sense, as, you know, as technology always evolves within an era, there's always going to be evolving ways to make faster. So, this was a creation on Lendard, which we know was Elsie's kingdom formerly. So yeah, you could probably figure out. I did not have a theory on this, but yeah, it is confirmed in this chapter that Elsie's mom is Akinoella. We do get her name. I'll get into that in a minute. So essentially, it would, if Elsie had not rebelled, because remember, the whole conflict between her and Justice and Elsie is the whole fact of Justice and Elsie were like kids on Lendart, and then Elsie rebelled and turned into, you know, who she is now, the space pirate Elsie Crimson, and Justice went on to join the I forget their actual name, but you know, the space military, basically. So yeah, we get some stuff with there, you know, she does her funny you know, Akinoella does her funny antagonist monologue, as Mashima's villains always like to do, before she goes on to proclaim her name and then gets fucking murdered by Elsie. And this is the main part that I have an issue with. So, Mashima has a problem with antagonists. If you've ever watched or read a Mashima series, you're probably aware of this problem. Specifically with Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail is very criminal. This specifically with God Serena. God Serena got hyped up for like 100+ chapters. It's like he was the strongest wizard in Fiore/Ishgard. It's like no one came close to him, even amongst the wizard saints, which being a wizard saint, unless you were Jura, meant shit. You know, he was hyped up, and then we finally got him in the Alvarez arc, and then he immediately gets his shit kicked in by Akinoella and dies. I know in 100 Years Quest he comes back, but that still doesn't change the fact that he got fucking murdered by Akinoella, and all of that hype was for nothing. It's a consistent thing of, they may not get jawed, but a villain that is built up, they're never going to be as good as Mashima builds them up to be. Mashima is great at building that hype, but he is horrible at actually delivering on that. Zeref and Akinoella are kind of victims of this. Akinoella, because he was hyped up for so long, and he ended up kind of just being a meh villain. He didn't really have an interesting character, which he didn't need to. It's just for so long, I think we just expected him to get more stuff. And with Zareth, I'm not going to get into that, because a lot of complicated things with Zareth. But yeah. But with the Oratio and Seis Galactica, you know, they were hyped up to be, you know, very, like, they're essentially the warlords of Eden Zero. They're criminals who are the most wanted. It's like, you know, you have Draken Joe, the Dark Alchemist, Poseidon Nero, the Emperor of an entire cosmos, Aknoella, the Mother of all Dragons, Dead and Crow, a living fortress, Saint Fire Knots, a leader of an entire cult-like religion, and Elsie, who was one of the most infamous pirates who ever lived and ruined her entire kingdom. But it's just kind of like, besides Draken, and minus Elsie, because Elsie never really was going to be an antagonist. She was always going to be, you know, on the hero side. So yeah, but the rest of them, Draken was good. Draken is probably the best member, because we got a lot of hype for him, and he delivered on that. His fight with Shiki, and Wise was really good, or Vice, I've never known how to pronounce his name. Nero is kind of weird, because you know, he's kind of part of the older generation, because, you know, he was around, like, his infamy comes from when Ziggy was around, so you could say he's a washed-up old man, but still, he was decently set up to be strong, and both him and Jaguar both kind of got just meh. They were meh villains at the end of the day. The most interesting thing with Nero is that he just, you know, did everything through the dice, which was decently interesting, and we saw his ability for, like, one chapter, and then Ziggy just yoinked it. Saint Fire Knots could be a saving grace, because we don't know. We know she's Rebecca's mom, which was an interesting twist. I will say so. I didn't see that coming. But nothing on her. I mean, she was just introduced. Last two. Dead and Crow was okay. He was threatening. He's a very threatening, because he's a fucking gigantic living fortress. But the twist with Cure, kind of like Cure made him, it kind of just felt unnecessary. It's like Mashima didn't know what to do with Cure, so he just made him a twist villain. It's like a bad Disney twist villain at the end of the day. So yeah. And then there's Aknoella, who was kind of just said some vague shit this entire arc, was an ally of Ziggy, shows up in this chapter, and gets fucking murdered by Elsie. We find out that her name is Shia Leigh Leonard. She's essentially Irene. It's basically... And the issue with this at the end of the day is, not only, I don't really care for Aknoella as a character. I'm not mad about this chapter. I'm not, like, upset with this chapter because Aknoella, I wanted her to be a good antagonist. I don't really care. I feel like Mashima just wanted to get rid of... I had fears that Mashima would just introduce Dead and Crow and Draken and Saint Fire Knots in this arc, just to get rid of them so we could have more antagonists, which is how shonen works, unfortunately. And a lot of people hate that, but I've gotten used to it. It's just more so the fact that Mashima is so uncreative with Elsie as a character. Because Elsie is literally just Urza, but has nothing of the shit that makes Urza cool. Because it's like, with Urza, the reason people like Urza is because we saw her and we saw her character develop. We knew where she came from, but with Elsie, we're just told these things. It's like, yeah, could she be a compelling character? Of course, anyone. I think any kind of character can be compelling if written well. But just Elsie was never given that. Not only does she look like Urza, her two top men are two people who don't get along and use fire and ice powers and get fucking murdered off screen. Thanks, Jesse. Piece of fucking shit. Her mom is literally Irene. Because even then we got, like, that short flashback where she literally is Irene and went bad. It's just... Yeah. It's just... I don't know. I guess this could be setting up that Elsie is going to be a villain, which is interesting because I never viewed her as her being a villain. I guess it is interesting that Elsie is just always surrounded by tragedy. And it's just... I just feel like you could have done it in a better way. Yeah, essentially, she also just nukes Aknoella. So yeah. Is this the worst chapter of Eden Zero? I don't know. There's been some chapters that are up there as, like, the worst of the worst. I think the Cure chapter was very bad. There were some chapters of the Hour Cosmos that were very bad. But yeah, this is definitely in top 5, like, the worst chapters Mashima has written for Eden Zero. Top 5 for the worst chapter he's ever written generally? No? Maybe not? I don't know. I would have to go back and reread Fairy Tail and Rave Master to actually prove that. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video on this because it's just frustrating to me, because it's like, Mashima, dude, it's not, you didn't have to do it that way. It's like, there are other ways. So yeah, I'll probably review next week's chapter. Hopefully it'll be better. I doubt it though. Signing out.